Alright, hold on, I'm gonna be right back.
I don't want to die.
Alright, we gotta get out of here. I'm going to 914.
Guys, where am I supposed to go?
Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Alright, let's get going. A facade to move, a mouse to move my camera around. There's a door, let's see. Right click doesn't open it, left click just makes this weird sound. Q, F, E, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. I'm still new, I don't know the control. Oh my god, that scared me. What the hell is that? Yeah, no, you saw that, right? This is the type of game to give you achievements for dying for the first time. Yeah, it's a fun game. No, but actually, it's a fun game. Incompetent guide to SCP Secret Laboratory. I don't know how to make an intro. My life depended on it. I would probably die. Someone send help and me now, please. Wait, what is this game? Only 2% of people watching this video are actually asking. Well, SCP Secret Lab is a game based off the SCP franchise, playable for free on Steam. If you don't already know what the SCP franchise is, go to Google and type SCP and start searching for stuff. The setup for the game is you're hidden in an SCP facility and a containment breach has happened. Depending on what class you get assigned, your objective will be different. If you're ever confused on what you're supposed to do in the game, press F1 by default on your keyboard to bring up this little menu. With the premise of the game done, let's go over the control scheme next. Alright, so let's get into the default controls in case you're mid-game or you don't know how to do something. The basic controls by default are facade to move, space to jump, E to interact with something, sometimes you have to hold down E, tab to open your inventory, left shift to run, C to sneak, left click to use the item in your hand or to select an item from your inventory, right click to aim down sights or drop an item from your inventory, F to toggle your flashlight if you have one, P to disable your GUI, Q to talk in game, there is proximity voice chat, and finally V to talk to humans as SCP-939 or use your radio. There, all the controls for the game are done. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but how about this? If you ever get confused on the controls, you can just come back to this like 10-second portion right here. I'll have a nice little preset default image and you can see where the controls are on your keyboard and what they do. Okay? You good now? Alright, let's go over how the game actually works. Hey, go, run! While this section explains how a match plays out, it mainly focuses on how a round actually ends. This is because SCP Secret Lab does not have a set time and can go on indefinitely. At the start of the round, you get randomly selected to play as one of the classes in the game, more on those later, and are automatically assigned to a team based on your class. Respawn waves happen throughout the game, meaning your class can change multiple times. This is why F1 is very helpful to new people since they most likely won't know what they're doing. There are 3 playable teams for SCP Secret Lab and Vanilla that can win the game. 1. The SCPs, 2. The D class, 3. The Nine-Tailed Fox. We will go over the individual classes later, but for now let's go over the win conditions and how the round ends, and how a winning team is determined. For the SCP group to win, they need to 1. Kill everyone, excluding Chaos on majority of servers, 2. Not let a D-Class escape. For the D-Class group to win, they need to 1. Have at least 1 D-Class escape, 2. Have all the Nine-Tailed Fox dead. For the Nine-Tailed Fox group to win, they need to 1. Not have a D-Class escape, 2. Have all SCPs recontained, 3. Have 1 scientist escape. Now that the team's goals and win conditions are defined, let's go over how your class is chosen. In short, it's random. The game does prioritize certain roles in an order though. This means it may be random which class you get, but the amount of each class is determined by a config. In short, when the round starts, the server calls the config team_respawn_Q, which is used to determine which classes get spawned first in the game. The config has a long string of numbers that looks like this. 0 means an SCP, 1 means a facility guard, or Chaos Insurgency, 3 means a scientist, and 4 means a D-Class. In a full 20-player default match, there will be 8 D-Class, 4 SCPs, 3 scientists, and 5 facility guards/Chaos. This string of numbers is used to prioritize which classes get picked first. For example, D-Class is the highest prioritized class and there will always be 1 D-Class in a round. There will always be 1 SCP as long as there is 1 D-Class present. Facility guards will spawn after an SCP and a D-class have spawned. Chaos has a small chance to replace the facility guards under the same criteria, and scientists will spawn after at least 2 D-class, 1 SCP, and 1 facility guard / chaos have spawned. Earlier, I talked about scientists and D-class escaping to help their team win. What I didn't mention is the disarmer. A disarmer is a tool that lets you handcuff people. If someone is handcuffed and escapes, they will join the opposing faction. For example, if a facility guard disarms a D-class and escorts him to the exit area, the D-class becomes an MTF cadet instead of a member of the Chaos Insurgency. This same thing can happen to scientists, but instead scientists will join the Chaos team. This is one of the few ways to change teams without dying first, but sadly it requires someone on the enemy team to handcuff you, which doesn't happen often. Speaking of dying, once you die, you become a spectator class. This lets you spectate the match while you wait to respawn. You can talk with other spectators and laugh at people who are failing. Once dead, you can use your ghostly powers to see what SCPs that there are in the game, and how many of each class is left. On the left side there will be a list of everyone's names. Using left and right click lets you go up or down on the list and change who you're spectating. In the bottom left it will show the name of their class. I'll explain later which SCP is which, but for now just make note of how you can find out which SCPs are in the game, without encountering them directly first, that is. A few of you might have heard me say the word respawn. Yes, you can respawn in this game. The amount of people by default that can be respawned in a wave is 15. The game has a ticket scoring system that determines which team gets to respawn, MTF or Chaos. At the start of the game, the MTF have 24 respawn tickets and the Chaos Insurgency have 14. The ratio of tickets directly affects the chances of either team spawning. Throughout the game, the MTF can get tickets by 1. Escorting a disarmed D-class to the escape area, which gives 1 ticket by default. 2. A scientist escaping the facility using the escape area, which gives 1 ticket by default. 3. Nine-tailed fox or facility guards dealing 25% of an SCP's health, gives 1 ticket by default. Throughout the game, the Chaos Insurgency can also gain tickets by 1. A Class D escaping the facility using the escape area, which gives 1 ticket by default. 2. Escorting a disarmed scientist to the escape area, which gives 2 tickets by default. 3. Chaos or D-class killing a scientist, which gives 1 ticket by default. 4. Class D or Chaos using an SCP item, which gives 1 ticket by default per item. Once the game decides a time for a respawn wave, it randomly picks a team, Chaos or MTF, and respawns people based on how long they have been dead regardless of what class they were before they died. The more tickets a team has, the more likely they are to spawn. For every person respawned, a ticket is removed from that team. The ticket value stops going down at 0. After explaining how classes are assigned, how you respawn, and what their common goals are, let's go over the individual classes. Alright, going back to the 3 factions from earlier. In the SCP faction, there is SCP-049, SCP-049-2, which are humans turned into zombies by 049, SCP-079, SCP-096, SCP-106, SCP-173, SCP-939-53, and finally SCP-939-89, which is another version of 939, with the only difference being the model. In the D-Class faction, there is the D-Class and the Chaos Insurgency, who are escaped versions of the D-Class. In the NTF faction, there is the Scientists, the Facility Guards, the NTF Cadets, the NTF Lieutenants, and the NTF Commanders. Alright, let's get into the individual classes. Let's start with the SCPs in numerical order, since they are the main draw of the game, obviously.
After the Christmas update, Chopie tried to think about what to do next.
Alright, so a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to go over everything there is to know about the game, like the sound effects and stuff for the different SCPs. I'm just going to go over their basic stuff, because if I tell you everything, then you won't get to learn anything, and the game will be kind of like, it'll get stale really quick. So I'm not gonna go over everything there is to know. Okay. Alright, we're gonna be doing a bit of a speed round. Alright, Kiwi, can you count me off? Kiwi, I don't pay you to just sit there and do nothing. Are you okay? I can't tell if he's asleep. I'm assuming he's asleep, so we're just gonna go. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. SCP-049, typically named Doc, has 1,700 health, a movement speed of 6 meters per second, and one-shots humans on contact. SCP-049's special ability allows him to hold Eon afresh within 8 seconds of death, bodies, to revive them, turning them into zombies regardless of how they died. SCP-049-2, typically named Zombie, has 300 health, a movement speed of 6.5 meters per second, and charges up a swing that deals 40 damage to humans. Zombies have the ability to break glass, but also have a headshot hitbox, meaning they can easily be dispatched with a good aim. SCP-079, typically named Computer, is a special SCP that plays a supportive role. 079 has the ability to control doors, activate Tesla gates, turn off lights, and has access to every security camera in the facility. 079 does not have health or movement speed, but instead has power and experience. The more experience you have, the better power management you have. Computer can get experience by assisting in the death of anything in the facility. 079 has a recontainment procedure in which humans must activate 5 randomly scattered generators in heavy containment zone. Each generator activated will give Computer extra power regeneration, and each generator can be turned off by SCPs before they are activated. Once all 5 generators are activated, 079 will have 1 minute left to live before getting recontained. Computer has the ability to open its inventory, bringing up a map of the facility which they can click to move around, and a list of all alive players. 079 is also able to see where generators are being activated on the map as well. Humans have the ability to tell which camera 079 is using based on the color of the camera lens. SCP-096, typically called Shy Guy, has 1,500 health with a shield of 350, increasing by 70 for each target. Shy Guy is a special SCP. If anyone looks at him, he gets enraged and hunts them down. Shy Guy's rage system is equivalent to a boss fight system. They have a docile period, a wind-up period, the aggressive period, and then the cooldown period, then back to docile. Harming 096 or looking at him will cause the transformation to start changing his movement speed from 5 meters per second to 12 meters per second in a substantial jump boost. Shy Guy has the ability to charge at his enemies in a straight line while enraged, and hide his audio cues by leaning up against doors with right-click. When triggered, 096 will be unable to see anyone who has not hurt him or looked at him, but he can still hurt them. Anyone who is a target of 096 will be able to be seen through walls by 096. 096 instantly kills humans with a swipe or charge and can break down doors while enraged. Shy Guy can also open gate doors while enraged, wide enough so that other SCPs can slip into. SCP-106, typically called Larry or Old Man, has 650 health, a movement speed of 6 meters per second, and deals 60 damage while also sending victims he grabs into the pocket dimension. Victims staying in the pocket dimension slowly decay and die. SCP-106 has the ability to walk through doors and windows and place down a sinkhole, which he can teleport to by opening his inventory. Despite his low health, 106 takes 2 damage per bullet and also has a recontainment procedure requiring a human sacrifice in his containment chamber. SCP-173, typically called Peanut, has 3,200 health, a movement speed of 12.5 to 20 meters per second, and instantly kills humans by snapping their necks. Peanut is unable to move when being looked at, making him a living statue. All humans blink at the same time, and the more humans looking at Peanut, the faster the group blinks. Humans only visibly blink when looking at Peanut, giving him a chance to teleport around the map and play the game. During this blink, Peanut can kill humans and move around the map. Peanut has the ability of scaling movement speed. The less health Peanut has, the faster he is, while also being able to move incredibly fast if nobody's watching him. SCP-939, typically called Dog, has 2,200 health, a walking movement speed of 4.5 meters per second, and a running movement speed of 7 meters per second. 939 does 65 damage per bite and applies amnestics to their victims, preventing them from using their inventory for a short period of time. Dog's vision is based on sound, not movement, meaning if a human is walking, Dog cannot see them without bumping into them. This lets dogs see humans and SCPs through walls if they're making noise. Dog also has the ability to talk to humans and pretend to be one using V. Explaining humans in depth isn't really essential or helpful. All you really need to know is their teams and goals, and then you're set. What's really useful to understand when talking about humans is the items they can use and how they can use them. SCP Secret Lab has a lot of items. The main one you need to understand is the keycard, since it determines which doors you can open, what loot you can get, and if you can escape. Inside light containment, there is a room called SCP-914. You can use that room to upgrade, degrade, or sidegrade your items. So what a majority of humans do is find a keycard around the map, go to 914, upgrade their card to the highest possible level, then try to escape. Here's the keycard leveling up system provided by the SCP Secret Lab wiki. Also, here's a close-up of every card. Notice how the black keycard is the highest upgrade. This card is called an 05. It has access to everything in the game and is the most powerful keycard. SCPs can't even open some doors, letting you have the ability to trap some using a keycard. except for a computer who can open any door. Also notice how there's multiple routes to the O5 card. Starting at the lowest card, the janitor card, there are 2 routes to the O5 card. The first one is 1-to-1, fine, fine. The second one is fine, 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 fine. To see what level of access each card has, hover over it in your inventory. I'm not going to explain what each key card unlocks since we would be here for another 10 minutes going over boring details, because that would be boring. Now that you know how to upgrade your key cards, you're probably wondering how you get a key card to start upgrading. Cards spawn inside lockers, bathrooms, in containment chambers, and with scientists and guards. Guns also conveniently spawn in bathrooms, containment chambers, armories, and on facility guards. Keycards aren't the only items you can get though. Tablets will let you turn on generators and customize your guns. Flashbangs and grenades are useful for fighting enemies. Flashlights can help you look at peanut in dark areas. And SCP items, which can be considered some of the most powerful items in the game, can be found in bulletproof lockers. I'm not going to explain what they do since it would ruin the surprise. After going over the items in SCP Secret Lab purposefully without depth, let's finally go over the place you'll be playing the game in. The facility. Alright, starting with the basics, the facility has 4 different zones. Light containment, heavy containment, entrance zone, and surface zone. Light containment is at the bottom of the facility, while entrance zone is at the top, and surface zone is on the surface. Technically, entrance zone and heavy containment are on the same floor since it doesn't take an elevator to go between them, but they're different zones, so we imagine them being above each other. That being said, there are multiple rooms and places that require an elevator to reach them, so it's not really a good definition of a zone. Even though the number and arrangement of zones is not random, the contents of each zone is. Each zone, excluding surface zone, uses presets with empty rooms. Each room is randomly selected and generated, thus creating a ton of random maps and mazes with changing obstacles. This means if you really wanted to go full tryhard, you can memorize each layout and know where each dead end is, or you could just play the game enough to the point where you kind of get that vague feeling that you're approaching a dead end. Light containment is where the scientists, D-Class, and SCP-173 spawn. As stated earlier, the scientists and D-Class have to escape the entire facility and reach the exit gate on surface. As an anti-AFK measure, light containment will be decontaminated 15 minutes from when the round starts. This means any D-Class or scientist hiding will have no choice but to venture into heavy containment. This also means that SCPs that you trap down here can potentially die if nobody lets them out. Light containment is one of the most easy zones to navigate since it has signs above each doorway telling you what room is inside. This way, you can find out if there's Peanut's room or 914 in front of you without actually opening a door. After escaping light containment, you will reach heavy containment. Heavy containment houses all the SCPs excluding Peanut, and tons of special loot. Generators can be found randomly scattered around, and Tesla gates as well. This zone can be considered the most dangerous place in the facility. No humans spawn in this zone, meaning any open doors at the start of the round should be red flags for if there's SCPs nearby. Some noticeable rooms in heavy containment are Nuke Room, Micro Room, and Heavy Armory. The Nuke Room lets you turn on and off the nuke and emergency cancel it, so if the facility is getting nuked and you see this room, you can go down and turn it off. Entrance Zone is the last zone of the facility. Facility guards are the only living things that spawn here. Intercom, Gate A, and Gate B are the only real noticeable things that spawn in this zone. Intercom lets you talk to the entire server, and Gate A/B are used to escape to surface. Surface Zone is the only area of the map not randomly generated. Chaos and MTF waves spawn on opposite sides of the surface zone. Gate A is closer to the Chaos, up a set of stairs, and Gate B is near the MTF spawn on a ledge. Near the MTF spawn there is the exit gate. D-Class and Scientists can only escape the facility here. If you plan on escaping while disarmed, make sure the person disarming you is in the same zone as you, otherwise the disarmer will break. The surface nuke room is also in the surface. This room requires an O5 keycard to enter and it lets you start the nuke. After the nuke explodes, this room will automatically open and stay open, preventing campers from hiding there permanently and stalling the round. After learning what the game is, the controls, the match structure, the main classes, some of the items, and the map, hopefully you're a little more prepared for the learning curve of SCP Secret Laboratory. If you want to review a specific section of the video, there are timestamps in the description, at the start of the video, on the screen right now, and in the video play bar. I made this video to help new people without spoiling or explaining the entire game, letting them keep some of the learning curve to themselves, so hopefully if you fall in that category it was helpful. If not, comment down below any questions you have and I'll respond to them. Also, like the video if you found it enjoyable or helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more content I make. I got a few good SCP videos I want to make, but I'm most likely going to take a break from educational content. And have a good one.
Burger King foot
Among
lettuce.
Us.
Is this the